Unlike, traditional media where you can just one-way speak, you have to build conversations with the customers, and you can do it in engaging ways. And I think brands are gradually warming up to that and moving to that.
So hi Rubeena, welcome to the Hindustan Times newsroom.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. So starting with the first question, so the internet was supposed to be the marketer's dream, right? Rich interactive content, a new way to let the brand express itself, and there are so many ways to do that on the internet with video, with rich media formats, etc. Yet most plans end up as Excel sheets and tiny banner ads on mobile. Not very interactive in the way that many of us would like. Is that a fair critique, or how do you think? What are the pressures on the marketer? Why are they not able to experiment enough?
I think there are two ways to look at it. In my experience, if you really look at it, I think the whole engagement piece. We understand that digital allows you a two-way interaction with the customer, and I think it has been overused and, if I dare may say, abused by a lot of marketers to create, kind of formats which are very intrusive and which customers don't engage with. So there is one side of that, right? It's not just banner ads, but they do a lot of rich media ads. And you must have seen in the early days, you saw the mouse hovers and the animations coming in and all that, which were quite intrusive for a user to be there. From there on, I think there was a whole drive on education and driving awareness to marketers saying that, okay, be more subtle and, try and be a part of the whole journey in a more native way. That's when customers will interact with your brands far more. Better ad experience. That's when customers will, interact with you there. So that led to the other extreme where they said, okay, fine, let's just follow this format. I think where we are treading right now is somewhere, in the next phase where we're saying that, while yes, you have to build conversations with customers, unlike, traditional media where you can just one-way speak, you have to build conversations with the customers, and you can do it in engaging ways.
Are we achieving some sort of a maturity in the market to be able to do that? Because I think it's also part of the curve where you are in order to have a standardized measure where people agree on some metrics, saying, okay, this is fine, everybody follows that. Are we there yet?
I think we're a long way from that, and it's going to be a long way because for brands, I think the problem is that the two large platforms that they work with are walled gardens, right? And there is no unifying. But the way brands and us think about the whole marketing pieces, we keep the customer in the center, and then we're trying to, engage with the customer, get the customer to transact with the brand or the service, and then retain the customer, right? That's how we're thinking about it. But it is really complex today in the world where there are walled gardens. And as I see further in the industry, whether it's the other OTT platforms also, they are also leaning in towards making their own platforms, as walled gardens. So it's becoming increasingly hard. But I think as the market matures, it's still early, I think for my view is we're somewhere in the middle of digital maturity as a country. Another 3 to 4 years, we will be like the US, the UK with high levels of digital maturity. That's when things will perhaps start converging, and we'll have better ways to measure outcomes.
So a follow-up on the question, we were discussing metrics, right? So do we over-measure or not measure enough in terms of your experience working on across projects, and have we really cracked that balance? To
be really candid, I think we get lost in measurement, and sometimes we lose the forest for the trees.
Or right? The original objective sort of gets diluted,
yes,
right?
Because I think what happens is, in my experience, and I'm speaking very candidly, is that when you talk to senior marketers, they all agree on the overall business objectives, but when it comes down to the execution teams, I think we get so much involved in the day-to-day execution and therefore the day-to-day metrics that we lose the larger picture. So while digital does allow the measurability, I think the way to use measurability in digital is more like a compass, which tells you which way you're going and what is working and what is not working.
So creative and media are two sides of the same coin and increasingly connected, deeply, especially in the digital sort of media. Are we seeing more convergence going forward?
I think there has to be convergence, right? And the way I look at it, while there are sophisticated media optimization, techniques which are available, and platforms have done a lot of work on that side. But the first interaction that the consumer makes with the brand is on the messaging. I think that's where there has to be a lot of work that needs to be put. And I spoke about personalization earlier. And today the customer is also savvy, right? What has happened with the mobile coming in the customer's hand, and at one level, while marketers get a lot of insight into how consumers are consuming content and how they're interacting with their brands, on the other side, the customers also become more demanding. They just don't want to know new brands that are coming or the price advantage that a brand has. To be loyal or feel relevant to a customer, they want to see personalized experiences.
You have to appeal to a lot more. It's harder to stand out in the clutter, right?
It is harder. So brands definitely have to make that shift towards focusing on the creative messaging as well, because they work hand in hand.
How important is technology in the mix? How does an agency keep up with that?
I think technology and digital go hand in hand. We have great marketing ideas, but we need technology to be able to enable them. Yeah. And that's how an agency like that, we think this through. When, like I talked earlier, we keep the customer in the center, but at the same point in time, we say we are data-driven and technology-enabled. At iProspect, for instance, last year we set up solution labs, which, we brought in technology talent, people who've had experience of a decade or 2 decades in just building products, not typically worked in agencies, to be able to bring to life the ideas that the marketeers have in a simple fashion. So, we all have to adopt technology. In digital, I think that's what gives you the edge. But at the same point in time, sometimes what happens is that people get overly, apprehensive about dealing with technology, because it can be complex and it's ever changing, right? So what we try to do is kind of simplify it and just bring the solution to the client without getting them bothered about how we deliver it at the back end for them.
Right. Yeah.